I know the board spent a lot of time, and Chief talked at length really about going forward and a desire to involve other communities, maybe to share resources, share expenses, and it's mentioned in here with the community center or regional dispatch. And should we reach out to other communities first before we make this investment? One, to see if they already have the equipment purchased and want us to use to locate over there, or secondly, do they have some specifics that when we're looking for equipment we need to keep in mind to be more welcoming to them?
Yes, we have reached out to other communities. We've looked at their resources and done kind of an assessment. And just in general, I'll tell you that 4 communities share one network right now. So we're kind of already organized by the same base repeater system, if you will. So we have all 4 communities that are contiguous border communities, and that's really who I'm looking to speak with and talk to about this. We're the only ones that are as far advanced in the technology. One will possibly a little bit closer, but the other 2 are not as far advanced as we are. We're preparing for next generation 911 as well as the upgrade of our current system. So the logical choice for me would be to do it here since we're so far ahead developmentally and organizationally, and to see if they'll join us. Has that answered the question?
It does, and definitely in part. I guess the other part would be, does it make sense to reach out and say, we're in the process, that the board, assuming it gets approval, the board has approved the purchase. This may be a great time to get together and do joint dispatching and try to save some man hours and expenses.
Yeah, we've had those discussions already, and they've actually come on the heels of a discussion of our need to upgrade kind of the nucleus of our current radio system. And during those conversations, I brought it up and did get committed interest from all the participants, some much stronger than others, actually. But if you're asking me, should we ask them to help pay for this now? It works good for me. But
well, it's two-part. I mean, not only help pay for it now, as much as if they're going to look. To me, dispatch seems to be a great idea to start sharing resources on. And I get this information directly from you. You've explained that with cellular calls coming in, it's not necessarily the village where you make the call, it's the tower. And this is just going to continue on in the future. It just seems to me that as we look to, every community looks to really how they're using the resources, this would be a great thing, a great first step. So I guess it's two-part. One, it seems to make sense before we make the purchase to say, hey, do you have some requirements? And I'd hate to hear, well, we would have joined you, but you didn't include this one thing, and we need this one thing. And secondly, more of a political question, and that is this something that should come from a police chief to a police chief, a village manager to a village manager, a village president to a village president? How should the dialogue start? Well,
we started talking about it because we want to be prepared for our managers and for our boards. So we're all reading from the same sheet of music. And in concept and theory, the police chiefs and fire chiefs have talked about this already. We know what's necessary. And the first part of your question, we're not going to skip a step that would just by accident overlook a need or requirement from another community, because we've kind of talked about how they do things and how we do things. It's actually quite similar. And I agree with your assessment that this is a very, very natural step for us, especially with us already being brought together by the common network. So the next stage is that political part, which is not my strong suit, but we want to be prepared as chiefs on the fire side and the police side both. And Chief Lee and I have talked to other fire chiefs and all the other police chiefs as well about the idea. And I'll be real honest with you. There's a couple who hate the idea, and I think it's a little possessive. I think it's just that we want hours and things like that, and that's to be expected. I mean, I've done one of these before in another community with with a population of nearly 100,000 people, and there was a little bit of resistance. So, but I'm prepared for that as well.
Just by way of background, too, let me add, in my tenure on the board, these discussions have been ongoing in terms of joint dispatches. The chief has pointed out, and his predecessor as well, that this is a natural area for joiner of resources. And in fact, we got very, very, very close to a joint dispatch arrangement with one of our neighbors, and at the last minute, for financial reasons, it didn't happen, and they had to drop out. And Bob, you may want to add to that, but it is a continuing source of conversation at all of the levels that you suggested, initiated by our chiefs, who are the experts in both the technology and the requirements and the day-to-day operations. But it continues at all of those levels.
And one other point of clarification, there was a line in there about a third dispatch position. That position already exists. We already have that third dispatch position. Problem is, it can do everything but 911. So, for example, in a scenario I'm just trying to make up off the top of my head, a major crisis occurs, we could have 3 dispatches actually giving instructions to units. One could be just strictly fire. The other 2 could be doing a myriad of other tasks. But one of the positions can't receive any 911 calls. And this update was something we planned for regardless. It was something that will handle the next generation of technology that we're about to receive. So the third position does already exist and is in fact fully functional, with the exception of the 911 capabilities, the ability to receive those 911 calls.
Thank you.
I want to add something to this, Mark. When the E911 went in originally, there was a lot of discussion, as President Asperger said, among other villages, and just through timing of the equipment replacement funds and budgets, we weren't able to work it out. But the networking was a positive step in terms of getting everybody on the same page, and the E911 really pushed that. Now this generation of E911 has made it, something we should look at again. But it was hard just lining up budgets was the biggest part of it.
Well, that kind of ties into what I'm saying is it seems that as we're lining up the budget, as we're funding it, you would make the call before you make the purchase. But my point is, if we're purchasing it, we still have to staff it. And, as every town has budget needs, we should make it very attractive. I would have said we should look and see which community it should have been located in. And the chief's already made an argument of why it should be located in Grange. I'd probably look and say that's showing, every community saying that to themselves, and that's the first step of preventing this from ever happening. But putting that aside and saying yes, this is the place it should happen. It seems to me that we should again be looking and seeing what the other towns' feasibilities are, because perhaps their equipment is aging also, and perhaps they don't have, either they didn't get the grants from Congressman Lipinski or they don't have the other money in their budgets, and this would be a time where they may be looking to join with us.
Thank you, Trustee Cooper. Any other thoughts?